All right, everybody, welcome back. This is the end of the world with Michael and Stu.
I'm Michael.
And I'm Stu. And this week we are discussing the 1976 masterpiece directed by Sidney Lumet. That's right, it is Network. A movie that many have seen at
One
least...
scene of.
Yeah, at least clips of, I would say. Yeah. Even not even that whole scene. They've seen, the
I feel like it's the same scene, the wet hair, the behind the desk.
In the pajamas with the raincoat over. Yeah, that is the iconic scene. It gets played at like sports arenas to like rile up the crowd.
Right. Before or after song 2.
Yeah. It's maybe a little Seven Nation Army will come on.
Yeah, right.
Probably the only 20.
Yeah, Seven Nation Army kind of replaced song 2.
Well, I think they're two of the more recent additions to the canon of arena. Like, not arena rock, but like sports or during game, like hype up music.
Right. Like cues.
Yeah, kind of like Gary Glitter, somewhat problematic figure. I don't know if you've heard, but Rock and Roll Part 2, was a kind of 80s instantiation of that theme. Yeah, so Network, we'll get into that in a little bit, but we have some sad news to report, which is that longtime watchers of the pod may remember a video from a couple weeks ago. My beloved cat Zimbra was climbing on my shoulder. Sadly, at the age of 16, Zimbra has passed on over the weekend, and so there'll be no more cat interruptions.
A great cat, a true angel. How old is that in cat years? 16.
Oh, it's probably in the 80s. It's quite old.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, he had a great life. He was friendly till the end.
And great comic timing. It's his last public act, really.
Yeah. We were talking about cats, and he just kind of appeared, climbed up onto my shoulder. It was a nice timing. So he will be missed, but I will have no cats for the foreseeable future. I'm sure there will be a cat somewhere in my future.
How many cats did you have in your zenith?
I had 4 cats for about a little over 10 years.
I give it a fortnight until the kitten comes, but we'll see.
No, I'm gonna wait a little longer than that. Save a little money on cat food for a few weeks, if nothing else. But yeah, it's sad. It's sad that he's gone. He'd been fading for a while, so this is not unexpected, but it is always sad to say goodbye to an old friend. And that's actually, sadly, kind of a perfect segue into Network. So, I think we talked about it last week, but you say you saw this for the first time pretty young, right?
Yeah, and I will say that upon the rewatch, the first thing that it was a great indicator of how long ago it was, right? Because I think having seen the iconic scene that we just talked about so many times in the interim, I failed to remember how small of a part Howard Beale is in the movie, if that makes sense. Right? Obviously he's the main character in spirit, but like the entire story actually revolves around a television network.
Yep.
And his screen time was far less than I had recalled. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I mean, the main character is actually Max Shoemaker, who's played by William Holden, right? He's kind of the audience stand-in figure. He's the honest newsman in a...
That's right. The last honest newsman.
Yeah, in a media environment gone quite literally insane, right? And there is a lot of other stuff going on in this movie. It is kind of a swirl of different forces that all kind of culminate in the final sequence, which we will get to in approximately 42 minutes. I first saw this in college, I think, or maybe just after college even. I remember being in New Haven at my apartment at the time, and being struck by like, oh my God, how is this movie that's almost, I guess it would have been 30 years old then. It's now about over 50 years old, almost 50 years old. 2004, 2005, around then, which was the sort of efflorescence of reality television. It's like peak American Idol, peak Survivor, peak The Apprentice, like
peak America.
Peak wife swap. Peak trading spouses.
What was the plastic surgery show? Nip and Tuck.
That was the fictional version of.
Right. What was the real one called? I can't remember. Swan something maybe.
I don't know if I never got into that one. The Bachelor.
Anyway. I feel like it's fair to say it was the high point of America across the board, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean the Iraq War. You know what's been better for American history than that? The Bush administration, the suzerainty of Dick Cheney, may he rest in peace, right? I mean, things don't get much better than that. So at the time I was struck by how prescient it was. And then the funny thing was, as Twitter developed over the next 10 years or whatever, I would have this phenomenon where friends or acquaintances would rewatch or watch for the first time Network and have the same revelation, be like, oh my God, this movie is so prescient. And I'm like, yeah, it is, but I hate to tell you, but I had this revelation 10 years ago.
Right. I sort of, in a moment of my own prescience, right?
Yeah.
Recognized that it was prescient.
Yeah, that's right. You have this sort of smug, like, oh yes, Network. Yes, it is.
So you're finally,
oh, you're onto that. Well,
you're finally getting Network.
Welcome to 2005.
Yeah, okay. Plug in.
Which is, sort of snideness that only social media.
Yeah, I mean, obviously,
the kind of contempt for other people's minds.
Typically, we get into some of the theme stuff, like in the heart of the podcast as we go through. But
sure,
now that we're talking about this, I do think that one of the things it reveals pretty well is the sort of like eternal return of the exact same conditions, right? Like, the way that it's described about like groceries costing too much and control of corporations and the death of meaning.
You're like, nothing has changed.
Right. Like, so is it prescient, or is it just like, as it always has been, as it always will be type thing?
Yeah. So the film is written by Paddy Chayefsky, who is the only person to win 3 writing Oscars as an individual. He wrote Marty, which is an acclaimed
1955 Best Picture.
That's right, and also Best Original Screenplay, or best adapted, because it was originally a radio play.
And famously, the answer in Quiz Show.
That's right, and that he pretends that he has to pretend to not know. That's right.
Which we will cover Quiz Show at some point, obviously.
Everyone.
I don't want anyone to panic.
What is more apocalyptic than a Quiz Show scandal, after all? But and we're not kidding. We will cover it. But it's a little bit. He's a great writer. He's like a writer. He's someone who had a long career, wrote a lot of TV. Won multiple. You
had said earlier when we were talking, he's a playwright.
He was a playwright as well. He was like one of these guys who went over, fought in the war, World War II. He was Jewish. He was from New York City. He grew up in the Bronx, and got injured during some, invasion, some land and
some part of the war
of Europe. Right. I think he was in the European theater. And while he was injured, he started writing for the kind of USO,
One wonders if that's where he came up with the famous line, "I'm mad as hell and I'm not going to take any of this anymore."
It's a good question where that came from. But he was always kind of iconoclastic. He's one of these people who is extremely successful, but always still kind of an outsider, was always having clashes with producers, had years where he didn't do anything because he was incredibly controlling.
Wouldn't edit, wouldn't cut, right?
Yeah, he was very control-oriented. Another movie that he wrote that I haven't seen yet, but which I'm planning on seeing at some point, is called The Hospital. It's from 1971. Also won the Oscar for that, I believe. Yeah. And I had never heard of it until I did a little bit of research into Chayefsky's background. He's an interesting figure because he did write plays, he did write radio plays, he did write TV. He didn't have like the formal background that he wasn't like a product of any school or anything like that. I think he went to City College or something after the GI Bill.
I mean, in all of this stuff, personality, career, boy, does it shine through in this movie in particular.
Well, I mean, I think the reason I would talk more, I mean, Sidney Lumet obviously is a great director, like master filmmaker, and this is one of the zeniths of his career as well.
Mm-hmm.
But this feels more than most films like a writer's movie. And I remember,
I mean, it feels like a play.
Yeah, it feels like you can feel the voice of the writer like bursting through the screen. And I think that is both the movie's greatest strength and, wait for this, it's also its greatest weakness. Let's give a little bit more background for anyone who hasn't seen it or hasn't seen it in a while. So the main character is Howard Beale, played by Peter Finch. Peter Finch, Australian, by the way. I don't know if does a pretty good job of portraying an American. Doesn't really,
sort of Hugh Laurie-esque.
Yeah, I don't know if he's quite in the Laurie class of fake Americans. He's elite. So he's a childless widower. It's 1975. He's been the anchor for UBS, which is this fictional fourth major network in the 70s. And he gets fired because of poor ratings. And on the night he learns of this, he goes out with Max Shoemaker, played by William Holden. And they're kind of reminiscing about the good old days when they were all, some of Edward R. Murrow's like gang that used to run CBS, which is Good Night and Good Luck, that play / movie that George Clooney was in. They just did you see that? They did but they made a broadcast of him doing it on Broadway, and it was the first time a Broadway play had ever been broadcast.
Oh, I did not know that.
And one of my friends from college, Fran Kranz, was in the production, so I felt obligated to tune in. And it's horrible. No, it was fine. I did feel like Clooney flubbed a line at a moment, which anyway,
which checks out. Yeah,
he's a movie star. Come on, what are you doing? Anyway, the whole like opening section where he's talking with Max, like, basically paints the picture of what the whole movie will be, right?
Oh yeah,
because Beale
it sort of moves ahead without moving forward the whole time.
Yeah, I mean but it's very interesting because it's kind of thrown away. He's like, I'm going to kill myself on TV, Max. It'll be a hell of a rating. Could make a series out of it. Suicide of the week, execution of the week, terrorist of the week. And lo and behold, all of these things more or less will come to pass throughout the course of the film. And, in the background, we hear one thing that I do like about this. So this movie came out in 76, presumably filmed in 75, maybe early 76. It's very current. They integrate things that had happened quite recently, such as the squeaky...
Patty Hearst.
What's that?
Patty Hearst.
Patty Hearst, the squeaky Fromme attempted assassination of Gerald Ford, which I had to look up. I think that was in September of 75. Yeah, September 5th, 75. And OPEC, the burgeoning oil crisis, which are all like central concerns of this era, right? There's even footage of Gerald Ford speaking. He's like, I'm not going to hide away in the White House or whatever. God, the clip of Gerald Ford, you're just like, wow.
Yeah.
That guy was catastrophic.
That guy was president.
Like, he was really uncharismatic. Like, and our only unelected president, right? Because he was appointed as Nixon's vice president after Agnew was forced out over the whole corruption thing. Beale, the next thing we see is Beale's on the air. He announces his retirement. And then he goes off script and says, tune in next Tuesday. I'm going to kill myself right here on the air. I don't have a wife or kids. I have nothing to live for. This is my whole life. So this ought to be a hell of a rating, a 50 share. And the people in the audience, like the people that work on the show, almost don't even register what he said.
Yeah, they're in conversation. Some of them aren't. Some of them are just sitting there and not listening.
They're just not paying attention. And eventually... some of them do notice and are like, wait, what did Howard just say? Go to commercial, right? Next character we meet is Robert Duvall, doing Al Pacino kind of in this movie.
Yeah, good point.
Right? That was sort of but almost like anticipating later Pacino, right? I think Pacino mid-70s, still Godfather Pacino's pretty
So maybe Pacino's doing Frank Hackett.
Maybe. I mean, you associate the two actors just because of The Godfather, of course. But there's some kind of conversation there between their performances. We meet Hackett. He's the network stooge. He's from the parent company, just called CCA that runs UBS, and he is utterly he's a soulless corporate monster.
Yes, a stooge, but not stupid.
He's not stupid, but he's just he doesn't care about anything other than money.
That's right.
And profit share. It's also funny to hear a little later in the movie we see him at a shareholder meeting, and the sums of money they're talking about. They're like, we could make almost $15 million. Just. I mean, I know there's been a lot of inflation, but still, it seems like such small potatoes compared to a world in which the free press of Bari Weiss gets purchased for $150 million, right?
Yeah.
It's like a Substack. Well, our subscriber numbers are so great, we got to pay $150 million for this thing. I mean, not that long ago, the Huffington Post sold for $300 million, right?
Really?
Yeah, a while ago.
Wow, they must be rolling in it now.
Well, Ariana is. Ariana's
well, no, I know, I'm joking.
Ariana's an old favorite.
Old friend?
Sort of. She was friends with my parents. My parents are not crazy about her. They hosted a big book event for her in the 80s. And,
oh, wow.
For her book on Picasso. And her publisher was supposed to reimburse them for the catering and everything. And it never happened. So,
do you hate Picasso?
Because of Ariana's...
No, like, is he like a Da Vinci to you?
No, man, I like Picasso.
Okay, just sometimes I just have to check in just in case we can get...
you don't want to, yes, I like Picasso. I think Picasso is a great painter. He's not really for me per se, but I will acknowledge his mastery. I'll grant him rulership. He's been granted rulership, all right? To paraphrase John Worcester. But anyway, the guy's furious. Frank Hackett is like, what the hell was that? This sinking news division, you're sucking money out of my bones, and now you have this madman on the air.
But he also uses it as a reason to explain that, they're going to be reorganizing everything. And of course, that is a thinly veiled threat.
Yeah, absolutely. And it takes, Max goes, Howard's been under a lot of pressure. He's old and lonely. He's just been fired. Can't we give him like one last chance to sort of apologize and go out? We don't want this to be like the sad act of his lonely career. It kind of reminds me of in ninth grade, my friend in the second to last football game, he got crunched up and he got taken off the field in a stretcher and ambulance. It was very scary. Oh my God. Turns out he was absolutely fine. Like he was just got the wind knocked out of him, it was scary. Yeah, it was very scary. But then the next week we had another game, and we're all like, "Well, he's not going to play." I mean, and he came out and he played, and we're like, "Why did you do that? Like, you didn't have to." And he was like, "I didn't want that to be the note that I went out on." Sure. And I was like, respect. Okay, strange analogy, but here we are. So Beale crashes at Shoemaker's house, and we meet next Diana, Faye Dunaway, who's this sort of also completely soulless media ghoul who's very beautiful, young, up and comer, but has...
It almost reads as like have you read Possibility of an Island, the Welbeck novel?
I have not, no.
So it's about a performer who just comes up with like sicker and crazier and more, sort of edgier things to be putting on, right?
Unlike Welbeck, the novelist, who has no similarities.
Yes. I mean, he's not exactly taking a huge leap here, but it felt like that, like her first idea, right, of getting this terrorist group to make an actual television series out of it.
Yeah, and I mean, we see her. She wants to do a show about the Ecumenical Liberation Army, clearly a fictionalization of the Symbionese Liberation Army, a group that, rest assured, we will cover in greater detail. Mm-hmm. Do you know much about the SLA, Michael? How deep have you dived into the Paddy?
Not deep, no, but I know it's coming.
Yeah, I mean they are so contemptible. like I'm all for revolutionary politics and changing the world, but I mean those people.
Really?
Get out of here. Yeah, you know what, Michael? I'm very down on 70s violent revolutionaries in Europe and America. The Weather Underground, the SLA, The
Yeah, they're often romanticized, right?
Baader Meinhof group. Yeah, I'm really down on all of them.
Interesting.
Which is surprising in some way. Maybe this is like I'm not down on them.
Stunned to hear it.
I'm not what that I'm down on something. I think this movie skewers them in a way that's ridiculous, but not undeserved.
Yeah.
This group has also kidnapped an heiress. They've shot a movie of the bank robbery. These are just ripped from the headlines. Now, the Patty Hearst stuff happened in 1974, so it was a little bit earlier. She loves it, and Laureen Hobbs is this African-American black woman, communist underground leader. She's the like conduit between the Ecumenical Liberation Army and she's basically their agent, as it will come to see.
Mm-hmm.
So Schumacher's reluctant to have Howard go on. He goes on again. We see Diana's like sleeping with her boyfriend, but she's much more interested in watching like the machine gunning in the bank robbery than she is in the guy she's with.
Right. Eventually, she even like she's Faye Dunaway, and like we come to find out that she's admits that she's not good in bed. Right.
Yeah.
It's like it can't interest her in a way. She gets it over with
as fast as possible. So that
she's coming up with ideas for like sick and twisted things to put on network TV.
That's
more than enough.
That's her cake. Yeah,
that's right.
She says the American people are desperate for this kind of exciting revolutionary media after Vietnam, Watergate, on and on. They want angry shows, counterculture, anti-establishment. This network is failing. I can turn around the ship. Joseph Stalin and his merry band of Bolsheviks, the Mao Zedong hour. So these are her ideas she's pitching as a ways to revive the UBS ship, as she says. Frank Hackett gives a speech where he bemoans the UBS like network news division's losses. And this is something that was true for a long time. Like the news division was expected to lose money, but it was almost done as like a loss leader. You draw people in with the news, and then they'll stay to watch Sanford and
All
Son.
in the Family.
Yeah, whatever, exactly. All in the Family comes up like 15 times in this movie too. It's like, all right, we get it, okay.
I do like as he's rising in the ratings, it's like he was the 4th highest rated show, and it was like behind All in the Family. It's like no matter how many times you threaten to kill yourself on the air, people are still tuning in more often to see Archie Bunker. and
the $6 million man.
Yeah. And Phyllis was the other one, right?
It's like it's awesome.
But like that's part of the movie that I love. It's like these really, I mean, sort of straight ahead, but like very effective references to the actual moment in time.
I think I agree. Like what I like about this movie is the milieu. It gives us a real feeling. And I mean, I don't know if you have this, but I think this is quite common. Often people are very drawn to the era just before they were born. So for me, that era of like the Carter admin, like 75 to 81, that fascinates me. So much stuff that went on there.
I like revile, like this was tough for me because 76, like things, 75, right, is 73.
73 is still the 60s kind of.
But it's like 50 years, you know, from like I'll be 50 years old, right, in 8 years.
Yeah.
Right. So I was born in 83. So when I go back to 76 here, it's like really scary to be like, wow, this is 50 already.
Oh, I
Network is 50. You know?
Yeah. For me, it's I think of the example of like Matthew Weiner, Mad Men. Right. Mm-hmm. Matthew Weiner was born in like 1960, 61 or something. And yet he writes a show that's about things he could not have possibly experienced.
Interesting.
But that he did hear about.
And a lot of things that try to be like this. Right. And we can talk about one of the worst television shows ever created in the newsroom. Right. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus. A sort of good comparison. Right.
I mean
because Sorkin obviously is just like, I'll just do that for today.
The first episode is Jeff Daniels doing network.
Yes, but it's like this feels, and again, I wasn't there, but like this the nature of these newsrooms, right? And the choices that they're making in the milieu do feel like all the president's men. You know what I mean? Like they feel like of this time, whereas Newsroom like already felt like a really almost outdated in its desperate desire to be like right up against the clock, you know?
But it wasn't, because it was always like stories that happened 2 years earlier.
Well, right, but that's as close as I guess get, like in the modern, like this turnaround is amazing, right? I mean, if he's talking about things that happened in 1975,
right, that this is in fact closer to the events that it's depicting than the Newsroom was. That's actually a good point.
That's right.
Another thing I noticed throughout this is, William Holden, who's the star, looks about 75 years old. He is 57, Michael. Isn't that bizarre? Max Shoemaker?
Yes.
Howard Beale is 60. These are people who these are people who probably drank more, smoked more, were certainly around a lot more carcinogens in their day-to-day life. But it's like, I'm not going to look like William Holden in 12 years, I'm
not going to look like anything. I've been gone the way of your cat by now.
Zing. So basically, CCA is going to take over the network news division, make it, just another wing of the machinery. Diana becomes fascinated by Howard Beale. She realizes she could kind of build her. He gets another rant where he's, saying he's fed up. He can't stand being alive. The world sucks. He's out of bullshit. He's run out of this and that. People are starting to love it. The ratings are starting to creep up. They're like, "Whoa, what's the mad prophet of the airwaves going to say next?"
Right.
And Diana kind of gloms onto this, and she says he's articulating our popular rage. I see Howard Beale as a latter-day prophet, and she compares him to Savonarola, who's this sort of zealous friar who took over Florence during the era of the Medicis. Really? Yeah, with kind of fire and brimstone sermons.
Okay.
And he lived happily ever after, and was he meets a bad end. It doesn't last for long, but he has a very he's seen as a forerunner of the Reformation in some ways, because he turns.
And at this time, Beale is starting to burn bright.
Yeah, he's starting to have that kind of prophetic preacher energy.
And so, the film takes time to have Hackett explain this about the news division, as it sort of lays the framework for a conversation that was going on at the time, right? The sort of, like you said, the losses that were in these really bloated news divisions. I mean, see these scenes with 100 employees bustling around their desks, and we've seen, obviously, tragically, newsrooms basically emptied out, right? I mean, it's definitely in current day environments, but what it basically does is it starts to pose the question and the dangers of turning the news into a for-profit enterprise,
and an entertainment enterprise as well.
That's right, which obviously America has taken up and run with the idea. But this is kind of like an interesting approach. Obviously, we don't really have anything like this, but we do have a lot of people whose job is to yell that everything is wrong, right?
Yeah. I mean, look at the rise of someone like Alex Jones, but even someone like Sean Hannity or Bill O'Reilly. I mean,
Tucker Carlson.
All these people come out of this mold in a certain way. To say nothing of the right-wing provocateurs of YouTube.
Right, which is interesting, because Beale's politics in this movie don't come across as like right-wing, right? It's interesting that what occurs in the actual evolution of the news in this way, you don't really see someone like Beale particularly represented in the modern.
Well, no, because
especially on networks, right?
I think because most of these people are very cynical and are doing it in an incredibly calculated
because
way.
They're doing it for money.
They're doing a bit.
That's
whereas
right.
Beale, I think we're to understand, is having some kind of genuine religious,
genuine if manic episode.
Yeah, it's very much a manic episode, but it has the true believer's feeling behind it. It is not done cynically. Hackett decides, hey, we're going to just let him be the angry prophet of the airwaves. He fires Max, and basically Max is like, well, Howard, do you want to be the mad prophet of the airwaves? And Howard's like, yeah, I do. The network lets this happen because they think Hackett is overplaying his hand. and this will blow up in his face. So they're going to let it go, even though they're against it. Eventually, Max kind of gets to stay on for a little while. Sort of the novelty is wearing off. Diana wants to bring in psychics, Sybil the Soothsayer, the Vox Populi, a kind of computer poll that shows what Americans are feeling about a given issue each day. A bunch of other weird kind of... It starts to look like one of those 70s variety shows where there are three platforms and they rotate around.
Right. And then it's actually, you have the most exciting person on television, but even that is boring if that's all there is. So you need other circus freaks surrounding.
That's right. I mean, it's very circus coded, right? Eventually, Diana reveals that she's always had a crush on Max. He came to speak at her college in St. Louis, and she's just been infatuated ever since. Probably the most improbable feeling aspect of the movie to me.
I mean, absolutely.
It's just like William Holden is like not looking that great, you know?
No. But I guess neither is Faye Dunaway in the movie, to be fair.
Really?
No, of course not.
like what are you talking about? She looks great. So they start having an affair. They have a one-night stand at first, and they kind of think Howard, his ratings have gone up, but now they're starting to go down again. And the whole thing was just a fluke. Gonna have him go off the air. Max at one point accuses her. He's like, "You're sleeping with Frank Hackett." And she's like, "Frank Hackett is an inhuman corporate monster. Like, there's no sexual desires, right?" And then she's like, "Is your wife in town?" He's like, "Yes." She's like, "Well, then we better go to my place." I kind of love the just blatantness of it all, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's also probably designed to like speed this situation up, right? There's no point in doing like a brief will they, won't they between these two people.
Absolutely
We've got to get there.
No, we have like 15 more monologues to get through before this movie is done. Basically, Howard starts having visions. We see him talking with this disembodied voice.
Mm-hmm.
It says, "Don't worry about the truth. I will put the words in your mouth." We're talking about impermanent, transient human truth, and Diana loves this. Howard claims it's not a psychotic episode. It's a cleansing moment of clarity. I mean, it's clearly a psychotic episode. I don't know why anyone would.
Well, I mean, most people having a psychotic episode do claim often.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, right? Very rarely do you have the friend with a psychotic episode who's just like, "Hey, this is..."
Yeah, like all the other friends are sitting around being like, "You know what? I think he might actually be bang on here."
He says that he's become... he's connected to all living things. He's within some great electromagnetic field. He's on the verge of some great ultimate truth. To me, he sounds like he's become the Emersonian transparent eyeball, where like he is part of everything and surveying it all, but it's all flowing through him.
Yeah. You mean like a pluribus situation?
Yes, a little bit. Which we'll also have to get to.
Yes, for sure.
Have you been watching? Do you like it?
Yes, I have. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm waiting and seeing.
I don't like it as much as most people seem to think it's the greatest television show in the history of the world, and I don't really understand that part.
Well, so you haven't watched it.
I talked to a friend of mine though, who also is not quite in love with it, but he's like, "I do trust Vince Gilligan to do this, so I'm going to keep going."
I mean, I like the Vince Gilligan of it all, just how much it feels like Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad aesthetically.
Right.
Anyway. Howard disappears from Schumacher's house. We finally meet Schumacher's wife. Interestingly, Schumacher's wife won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress in this movie.
Wow.
She is in the movie for 4 minutes and 5 seconds or something.
That is unbelievable. And to me, quite unremarkable.
Yeah, no, I think she's pretty good, but it is crazy that she won the Oscar. Beale himself won Best Actor posthumously. Not Beale, Peter Finch. Sure. He died just before the ceremony. He's the first person to ever win a posthumous Oscar.
Did he die of like a heart attack or something?
Yeah, I mean, from
doing the movie?
Not.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I did not know that.
Yeah, his health
crazy.
His health suffered from doing the movie. Now everyone is really like upset that Howard Beale is gone. He shows up in his pajamas. This is the famous scene, right? He says, "I don't have to tell you things are bad. The dollar buys a nickel's worth. punks are running wild in the streets. The air is unfit to breathe. And then he's like, at least leave us alone in our living rooms. I'm not going to leave you alone. I want you to get mad. All I know is that at first you've got to get mad. I'm a human being, God damn it. My life has value. And this is where you're just like, okay, the writer is just like screaming at me through these characters, right? I want you to get up now, get out of your chairs, go to the window and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell and I'm not going to take this anymore. And then, we see that this actually is a viral moment, right?
Yes.
Schumacher's
it's
daughter.
An early viral moment. And also, like, I do think, we should talk a bit about this, since this is the most famous moment of the movie, right?
Yeah, of course.
It's, again, like, this is the things he is that he's describing ring true for sure in many ways. But it's interesting, like, as we have been given the ability to essentially be part of the news, like, as we consume it, right, by participating and interacting in the media that now is like our main source of news.
I mean,
right?
we're doing a podcast right now.
Well, exactly, right? the thing that this doesn't sort of get to yet, right, is that and it does, in the sense that nothing ever happens in terms of like the popular will, which I think is interesting, is that like today it's really more just like people just want to say I'm mad as hell.
Yeah.
Right. It's the articulation of I'm not going to take this anymore. I feel has sort of completely.
I don't know.
Largely disappeared.
I think that's what QAnon and a lot of stuff like that is. I think it's been co-opted by conspiracism on the right to a certain extent.
Sure, but again, like what he's saying to me.
But at the same time, your point is well taken, because QAnon was all about like trust the plan. Meaning you don't actually have to do anything. Like there's a plan that's gonna
right. I mean, I don't even think that's the point I'm making more is that
sure.
the ideas that he has and a lot of the things that he expresses, they ring true in a way that QAnon does not to me or you, right? I'm speaking more to like people who do feel this way about corporations and television and media, right? The sort of like spoon feeding you until you die. You're a terminal, you're just this entity that stares at a screen. Like that type of thing does come through in what he's saying. But you don't get the sense that
there's the call to action is lacking.
Well, it's just, we've proven that it's not really necessary to keep people's attention. That I'm mad as hell is more important by far to keep people's attention, all the way through to their death. I mean, we have, you and I'm sure we've known each other for a long time, but even longer, we've probably been saying we're mad as hell, right? And now we're, heading towards our 45th birthdays. So I do find it interesting that this all does happen in the studio, right? And although the studio gets bigger and audience members start coming and they cheer along and all of that, I think it's very, very effective that it doesn't lead to like, this doesn't become The Purge.
It also doesn't become the Nazis, right? Howard Beale does not become like a political leader.
That's right.
People are
and
just
it's really interesting. It like shows the power of television in that like it's all contained within the media, except for maybe yelling outside on your patio.
Right, but I think this is actually a perfect thing to segue into the next segment of the movie, which is we see Diana meeting Laureen in LA to arrange the Mao Zedong hour. Mm-hmm. Now, so these people, unlike Howard Beale, are revolutionaries who are out in the world robbing banks and kidnapping heiresses and probably murdering people. But they're also filming everything they do. Mm-hmm. Because even revolutionary violence in the world of this film is contained back within the sort of sphere of media, right? So the idea of them actually doing anything that affects the real world is beside the point, right?
And it's sort of at one remove, it's mediated, right?
That's right. So we see that, like, Diana wants her to be on this show, and like Hobbs playing hardball, like these are revolution. I'll have to talk to the Comintern or like the Central Committee of the American Communist Party, but it all feels like it's just bullshit. Like she's gonna go along with this eventually, And Diana gets that. And then we see her going back to their hideout, which is in this like ramshackle house somewhere. And
then we get one of the lines of the movie.
Right. Where I'm going to make a TV star out of you, she says to the sort of figurehead Donald DeFreeze-esque leader, who's the great Ahmed Khan, right? I'm going to make a TV star out of you just like Archie Bunker, right? And then he's like, who the fuck is that? Or something, right?
Right. But like, this is, I guess what I'm saying is like, part of the commentary I really did like was this idea that like, you can be going around kidnapping heiresses, robbing banks, threatening politicians. But when you get onto television, there's no distinction between you and the guy who's just sitting on his chair yelling about the world.
Being annoyed at his hippie son or whatever, son-in-law. Yeah, I think January 6th is kind of relevant in this, you know? It's like the people breaking into the government, like, and they're like orderly walking along. They're like robbing the Nancy Pelosi's office furniture or whatever, but they're doing it in like a kind of order. There's something weird about like that one person actually got killed during this is like cause of right-wing furor. And it's like, well, yeah, but they like invaded the Capitol building. Right. And like, you're mad one person got killed. Like,
right. But like, also what's interesting is like, while that is going on, you know, the moment of violence and the various pockets of a bit of unrest, there are also like people who decided to storm the Capitol to like end up with like a couple pens from Chuck Schumer's desk.
No,
you know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
Like it was part of it was like a tourist trip.
Well, that's sort of what I'm pointing at is like that there's these boundaries that it's still obtain even though they're allegedly doing revolutionary violence.
Yes, right. Interesting.
I don't know. It's not a perfect one-to-one thing, but there's something. You know, we see another Howard Beale show thing. Howard Beale starts to do this thing where he like faints after his revelations, which I quite like, right? He says, this company is now in the hands of CCA. Television is not the truth. Television is a goddamn amusement park. We're in the boredom killing business. Nobody ever gets cancer at Archie Bunker's house. Really preoccupied with Archie in this, I say in my notes. We're beginning to believe the illusions we're spinning has mass madness, you maniacs. You are the real thing. We are the illusion. Turn your TVs off. He faints. The audience goes wild. Right? Yeah. He actually is like, turn off the TV.
And the studio audience is like, yeah.
And
even though they've come to see the filming of a television show.
So this keeps going. Suddenly Beale is like the biggest thing. We kind of jump forward months ahead. Max and Diana had a one-night thing, but now they're going to renew their affair. Schumacher confesses what's happened to his wife, and this is the Oscar-winning speech. But the thing about it, I think she does a good job, but it sounds too much like Howard Beale. Like all the monologues.
Well, this is the thing. Too much of the dialogue of the movie, or especially the monologue of the movie, sounds like it's coming from the same person.
This has been my objection to this movie from the beginning. It's like well written. He's expressing.
I mean, you've written a lot, and I've written scripts, and
this is like hard. This is
the hardest thing to do.
This is something you are very conscious of when you are writing fictional characters. You don't want everyone to sound like another version of you.
Well, and that's the thing that, like, when it comes when you told me that, you know, doing the research that he's this control freak who wouldn't cut lines and stuff, it's like you can even it is so difficult that you can really like finish a draft and be like, all of these people are very distinct, and then someone will read it and be like, they're not.
Yeah. Everyone sounds like you know.
Yeah.
It's her name is Beatrice Straight, by the way, the wife, the actress. She's part of the Whitney family.
Interesting.
It's a good rabbit hole to go down. The Whitney family. There's like so many famous people in that family. It's insane. Most famous, of course, being Eli Whitney, the inventor of the cotton gin. Anyway. Also, she passed on in April 2011. In my notes, for some reason, I've written, "Oh, that's too bad. She would really have loved 9/11." Anyway,
you mean April 2001?
2001. Sorry, God, I was getting to the 11 before the.
It'd be funnier if she died in 2011 and on her deathbed was like, you know what I really loved? 9/11.
R.I.P. So the Mao Zedong Hour becomes the show that follows Howard Beale. we see this ridiculous scene where they're at the hideout negotiating a new Mao Zedong hour contract, and any pretense of like the revolution and all that is gone, and we see Laureen being like, don't fuck with my distribution costs, and like the heiress who they've kidnapped comes down and is like, what are you doing? Like, this isn't true to the spirit of the revolution. So they're like, shut up, you little. And Ahmed Khan fires off a gun and he's like, give her the fucking overhead clause. You know, it's just like
he's like looking at the contract.
He's like, now on to section 3G. You know, like it's really
it's also an interesting piece to this movie that it so easily could have been a real send up, you know?
Yeah. Like just like a complete parody.
Yeah, like a Leslie Nielsen movie.
I mean, it's not quite there, but yeah.
No, but I'm saying like you can see like the bones of it are there.
Yeah.
Like you could have.
I mean, that scene to me
the
is
revolutionary group going through their Hollywood.
That's the closest that we get to just pure ridiculousness. Eventually, Beale starts to rant about Saudis taking over CCA. This network doesn't like this. This makes them uncomfortable. Apparently, Chayefsky was a little bit of a conspiracy theorist. He was like, the Arabs are taking over America.
Seems like he thought that. He talks about it a lot at the end of this movie.
Yeah, and it's a little like,
it's a little awkward feeling for sure.
He's a big, 67 war was good. Mm-hmm. Like, he's a very Zionist
and it's
guy.
A lot of like, he's saying like it's the Arabs. There's no like distinction about the power institutions of those nations.
No,
you know what I mean?
No. Yeah. It feels a little bit
very racist.
Racist, yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. Yeah. He tells them to bury the White House in telegrams to keep CCA from being bought by the Arabs, the Saudis. It works. But then they do this thing where they have an intervention where Ned Beatty appears and is one of the boss men at the CCA company. And he takes Howard Beale into this room and gives this incredibly long, inexorably boring speech.
So long. Yeah.
The world is a college of corporations, inexorably determined by the immutable bylaws of business. The world is a business, Mr. Beale, blah, blah, blah. He has this sort of joint stock vision of the world, which ironically is what kind of Captain Ahab uses to manipulate the crew of the Pequod and Moby Dick before leading them to their deaths.
But it's a key moment because it sort of like closes the circle where Beale begins this movie so outside of the world of his show that he's too much for his show to handle, and now he's sitting across from one of the powers that be, and he just starts to echo what is being told to him by the corporation who has lifted him to these heights. Yeah.
And I think
I think it could have been really great if it wasn't so long, so heavy-handed, and the fact that like you said when we were watching, it's like, oh yeah, everyone, you get a monologue, everyone gets a monologue.
It's a real Oprah moment. I agree.
Yeah.
From there on, Howard Beale's he starts to preach corporatism. Democracy is dying. The individual is finished. This is no longer a nation of independent people. People don't like this. Kind of a downer message, and it's ironically inspired by this pro-corporate speech he's been given.
That's right.
Max become disillusioned with his affair with Diana. They've been living together, but he's missed his wife. And you're not going to believe this, Michael, but he goes off on a monologue about. He starts talking about simple human decency. Death is suddenly a perceptible thing to me. And then Diana says she doesn't know how to love him, and she takes a call in the middle of his monologue about one of the Mao Zedong hour problems.
And again, like this one really feels like it doesn't need to happen. It's like all of a sudden
we got it. I mean, yeah.
And like just all of a sudden you're treating this other like B story facilitating piece of the movie with the same like gravitas and philosophical examination by way of monologue.
And that's the same problem with
Beale. If just let Beale be the monologue thing and let everyone else speak like, they exist in an actual reality.
I think I agree with that. Right. So Laureen, the agent of the Mao Zedong Hour, doesn't like Howard Beale because people are depressed by it. His ratings are down; they're plummeting. She calls him a
Well, it's a betrayal of the some of the ideas of a revolution, of course, right?
Which she cares about
life has no value.
She cares about so deeply.
Well, sure, of course not, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, she says, "Get him off the air." They have other prophets they're thinking of hiring in his place.
I love that. What do we do? And
they're like, "Who's that prophet? Who's that prophet NBC just brought in?" And they're like, they're like that
guru from Spokane.
They're like, that was him, and she's like, he's terrible, and it's just it's literally some like crazy guy dressed up like Jesus standing on a mountaintop giving the most interminably boring monologue.
But again, like that's
ever.
Part of what makes Diana so good. Obviously, at her job compared to these people, she's like, you don't understand.
She gets it.
Yeah, these messiahs don't grow on trees type things.
That one is it. That one is not it. You can't catch fire and lightning in a bottle.
Sort of like a Simon Cowell figure, in that like he can recognize if you have it still.
I'm more of a Paula Abdul figure in my own imagination. Sure. So they have a final blow up. Max leaves her, goes back to, she says, Howard's been talking about humanoids in one of his monologues. He's like, you're one of Howard's humanoids. You're television incarnate, Diana. It's like, okay, got it.
And now the TV man ends by hating everything about television.
Yeah, and they decide rather than fire him because they'll have to pay him residuals of any future blah blah blah.
The board decides.
The board decides to just have Howard Beale assassinated on the air by the people from the Mao Zedong Hour, and this will also serve as the launching point of season 2 of. Which is I think that's pretty funny, right? Like
I think so. I think you're right. On the one hand, I think it is funny. On the other hand, I think this ending shows the ultimate failing of the movie because they don't do anything ever in the entire movie that you are ever waiting for, considering as a potential, any type of suspense about the story, how this might come to fruition, how something might end. They just say the ending of the movie and then they just do the ending of the movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, at least with this one, it's like, I think it would have been a lot better to be like, what the hell are we going to do?
And then just cut to this. Yeah. I totally agree.
I just don't understand.
Why do we need
back
to
and
tell
forth for 8 minutes?
Why do we need to hear about whether?
Yes, we get it. We get that it will be the kickoff to the season.
Yeah.
We get that. So just do it instead.
And then end with like, this was the highest rated episode of the Mao Zedong Hour yet, or something, just like.
Right. And even it's a very good example of like the really boring but true advice that's often given to people making movies is just like show, don't tell. And it's just like at a certain point, there's just so much telling.
So much talking. Yeah.
Like I said to you, I was watching, like, I asked you, like, was this a play first? Because that's like what I figured, and it would make more sense that you would go and watch people ranting like this for 2 hours if it was
a play in a theater. Yeah, I agree. And that's how the movie ends. He gets shot, cut to him, and then we just see his death is one among many screens, and we see the famous Mikey Likes It Life ad, which was still airing when I was a kid. I remember seeing that. A couple influences on the movie. One was the actual on-air suicide of reporter Christine Chubbuck in 1974, where she brought a gun to work and like did a segment, and she's like, now for something you've never seen before, and just like literally shot herself.
Whoa.
Yeah, that tape is thankfully not available. You can't watch that on YouTube, thank goodness. I think in general, the climate...
My grandmother used to live in Sarasota.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
retired there.
Hopefully she didn't live there in 74 and wasn't watching the morning weather or whatever. God.
Just waiting for the Price is Right, and then just bam.
Yeah, imagine. Ugh.
Anyway. It's sad. I don't know why I'm laughing.
No, it is sad. But it's like, people wonder, like, how much was this in the background for Chayefsky? Mm-hmm. Like, because he does talk about it at some point in his notes, but it's unclear. I don't think this was, like, the origin point of the movie. Sure. But... the energy crisis, Watergate, general climate of mistrust in government. We don't
have that anymore.
That's all. That's good. No problems with energy or inflation.
Mistrust.
Inflation is certainly not an issue in America.
Issues of misinformation. We don't have that.
No.
We've had 50 years to clean this up, and we've done a hell of a job.
Mission accomplished, to quote George W. Bush.
Mm-hmm. But that to me, like, again, like, I think that's, you know, I think the point of watching this movie now too is sort of, you know, not as something that would sort of like placate you or anything, but it is interesting to know, you know, to just remind yourself that the feeling that the impact of media and money, right, has strained both the human experience and the political will to its seeming breaking point forever, right? Like an interesting example, like an interesting example to this is like all of these themes are present now.
Yep.
But the difference is before anybody talks about anything now, they say something like, well, and what with social media and all?
Yeah.
Right. Oh, well, you know, one of the impacts of social media. And then they list things like distrust in government, inability to discern, you know, truth from fiction.
All things that are completely present in this movie.
Right. Conspiracy theory. And it's like, oh, right. It doesn't really, and I'm sure we can go back and we will in this podcast and find examples of this exact sentiment on the radio, you know, or after the printing press.
I mean, the War of the Worlds thing or whatever, right? I mean,
right. And it's like, I think it's important to remember that, like, the sheer depravity and heinousness and absurdity of a political and social system never actually necessitates its impending downfall. Yeah. It doesn't.
And like, you think of the fake letters people were writing claiming to be Jack the Ripper in the 1880s in London.
Exactly.
With dipping their pen in pig's blood and writing out I had a jolly good
and
time.
People walking around and being like, it's never been this dangerous in London town, you know?
Yeah, I think that's well said. Yeah, again, I mean, you really hit the nail on the head. The biggest issue for me is the voice of the writer just coming through the script. And it's an interesting problem because it doesn't happen that often in movies, you know? On one level, in this movie, it happens because the writing is kind of interesting and kind of fun and has a kind of role to it. And a lot of movies are just too bland for anyone to have a discernible voice, I think you could say. It's something that happens in novels sometimes. Sometimes I'll be reading a novel that's from like 3 different perspectives. And I'll be like in perspective 2, and I'm like, this is perspective 1.
Right. This is just John Grisham.
No, I'm talking about the more literary material that has a...
I know, but I'm just guessing that happens if you read John Grisham.
Well, what is his name? Thomas Harris, the Hannibal guy. It certainly happens there.
Yeah, okay. Good example.
Talk about some unreadable fiction. Anyway, so next week, we're going to go a different direction. Talk about a cult. We're going to be talking about the Heaven's Gate cult.
Tea and dough make their bow on the end of the world.
Yeah. We haven't done a cult in almost 50 episodes. So
interesting. 1 year almost for those keeping track.
Yeah, and our cult episode is one of our top episodes that we've ever done. Anyway,
but you know, Heaven's Gate didn't quite have the same social impact as
I still remember where I was when all this went down. I have vivid.
Yeah, but Stu, you remember where you were when anything happened with any cult anywhere in the world. So you're not
just with any cult, with like anything.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, Stu remembers where he was.
All right, touche. You got me. I'm owned. So that'll be fun. I mean, not fun. It'll be dark, but it'll be interesting. And until then, if you like the show, you can follow us on the podcatcher of your choice.
Yep.
If you really like the show, you can leave us a rating and or a review on said podcatcher. Also follow us on Instagram at the End of the World WMS, where we post jolly reels of our capers. I think I've already said that. I'm running out of steam on this. So next week, Heaven's Gate cult. And until then, this has been the End of the World with Michael and Stu.
I'm Michael.
And I'm Stu. And we'll talk to you real soon.